right, I'm thrilled to be joined here with Judith Simon, the president and interim CEO of Verra. So for those of you who don't know, Verra is the voluntary carbon market's most dominant standards body, issuing about 2/3 of all carbon credits in the global voluntary carbon market. And as we will get into shortly, this is a very pivotal moment for Verra as an institution. It's dealing with a couple of challenges and significant market-wide and internal transformations. And luckily for Verra, they appear to have brought on board just the person with the expertise to lead the organization through these incredibly exciting times, and that is our guest, Judith Simon. So Judith's extensive background as a corporate executive includes pivotal operational roles at Zillow Group, Redfin, CarMax, and Circuit City. And what I think is most noteworthy about your resume, Judith, is the clear through line of operational expertise applied to different sectors and industries, all of which were experiencing transformation at the time, which is very relevant for this moment at Verra. And what I think is particularly noteworthy is that you've held serious leadership positions at 3 multi-billion-dollar companies, while our entire market is worth $2 billion. And so leading the transformation of Verra and maybe of the whole market should be just another day at the office for you.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, great. Okay, so we're gonna start. You joined Verra, which is a nonprofit, in February of this year after an extensive career in the private sector. Yep. Maybe share a bit about what drew you to that opportunity and how it's been over the last year.
Yeah, wonderful. So hello everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you, and thank you, Dana, for having me at this event. I'm so incredibly excited about being at Verra. I think there were a few reasons that drew me there. One is the mission, just an opportunity to really have high-level impact on this critical climate crisis. And then it was just this right blend of what the needs were and what my skills were. And so, which we think about like Verra going from a startup organization, 20 people, and then a couple years later it's 150. And then we look at what the transformation and scale is going to be required by 2030 and 2050, we needed to build that internal capability to be ready for that scale, and that is experience that I have, and so it just felt like a really great complement, and so I felt like I could contribute, and I'm really, really thrilled to be there. I think the other piece is, I've been in the private sector, and the stakeholder at the end of that process is a customer that you're trying to serve, and this is like, our stakeholder is all of humanity, and yeah, it's really rewarding to think about doing that. Yep.
That's extremely interesting, by the way, because you talked about the stakeholder of Verra being all of humanity, but a very important stakeholder group of Verra are corporates, yes, who are the buyers, the natural buyers in the market. Yes. So I think you coming with the corporate perspective is probably very helpful. Mm-hmm. What has been most surprising to you over the last year?
So it's been 6 months.
Just 6 months, yes. February to September is 6 months.
It feels like a year.
She's good at math, everyone.
The most surprising, so I think it is the complexity of the whole ecosystem. So it's not like there's like one customer that we're serving. I remember our first conversations about, well, what do our stakeholders think? And then they're like, which stakeholders? Because we have lots of stakeholders. We have people on the supply side and the demand side, and we got people in the middle. Mm-hmm. So we've got project proponents, we've got other standard setters, we've got buyers, corporates, intermediaries, and I'm like, what's an intermediary? But anyway, so I think that was really surprising, and so then we've got to be really intentional about the role that we play and how we can serve that in a really balanced way. Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing I heard was no one will ever be happy with you. So, we're just not an organization that's serving one set of needs. You're balancing needs and pressures. And so that's new.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Let's talk about the new era for Verra. So I, like many people, opened my inbox 2 days ago, I think, and got a lovely email with great branding.
Great, thank you.
Talked about
Hillary.
Team. Well, you get credit. You're
okay.
The CEO. It talked about a new era at Verra. Now there are a lot of demands on Verra. Obviously, we've been watching Verra grapple with things like long registration and issuance times, some public questioning of the integrity around certain kinds of methodologies, and the need to incorporate in new technology at the methodology level, because technology is advancing super quickly throughout the VCM. And so I think the new era at Vera and the 3 commitments that you made, which were to operational excellence, integrity and impact, and accountability, are exactly what's needed thematically to address a bunch of the challenges that we've seen. But I would love for you to share more insights about those 3 commitments that Vera has made.
Great. So as we thought about this transformation, so Vera has been, kind of revolutionizing this market and adding value through setting standards and solving problems and developing methodologies and really like finding solutions to really difficult problems for 15 years now. And so that is a great basis for us to move forward from. But we also see what's coming down the pike. So it's an ever-evolving sector. There are new entrants. Technology is evolving. The sciences are evolving. And the demand is changing. And then we have this critical growth curve. So anyway, we stepped back and said, before we formalize this roadmap, what do we actually need to consider? And so I went on this listening tour, and I've talked to 35 organizations over the last 6 weeks, from other standard setters, NGOs, buyers, intermediaries, I'm missing people, but everyone in the sector that is in the tier 1. I talked to 35 organizations, and we also sent out a survey for the other stakeholders that I couldn't meet with, and we had 500 kind of submissions back with great insights for us. And the reason I tell you this is because we felt like it was very important to understand the collective perspective and needs of the market, because it's not just about Vera, it's about how we enable great things to happen throughout the market. And so we felt like we needed to have a better understanding of what that was. And so the feedback and the critical kind of insights that came back to us helped us put more clarity and specificity under those 3 kind of big umbrellas of operational excellence. So I'll just talk about them briefly.
Yeah.
I could go on all day. But operational excellence, it's about making sure that we are servicing our stakeholders, that we are answering questions quickly, that they know who to talk to. There's a lot of questions and confusion, and it's difficult to get a hold of us. Another one is about just speeding up the process, just making sure that there is clarity and expectations. So we're going to be setting kind of service level standards. We're going to publish them. We're going to hold ourselves accountable to them. So be on the lookout for that. And then the other piece is about just enabling incredible action. And so we don't think that we can actually accomplish the speed with the quality without really a big investment in technology. And so we have a multi-year kind of digitalization initiative. We have just begun that process, but it will be an enabler not just for Vera to deliver what we need to deliver, but also anyone that is connected with us. It's going to actually help enable your organizations as well, and that is what our goal is. Around program impact and scientific integrity, it's about just utilizing the best practices, making sure that we have kind of independent research completed so that we're building trust. We want to have the highest trust in all of the credits that we issue, and we feel a really strong responsibility to that. There is a large plethora of methodologies that we kind of manage and maintain, and we just want to make sure we are doing everything we can to build the trust and credibility so that the market is not stagnant, so that the market is not worried, so that the market flourishes, because if we're in the way, we're keeping great things from happening around the globe. And then the last one is about accountability, and that accountability is broader than just accountability to our individual needs. It's accountability to the stakeholders, to the communities that these projects serve, to the planet, we've talked about that already. And so it's like, this is bigger than us. And so that is calling on us to collaborate, to build partnerships, to really reach out. And so part of this listening tour is also just establishing relationships. And the great thing that I heard in every single conversation was, Vera's a trusted partner. You've got some issues. There's an opportunity for you to up your game. But at the end of the conversation, it almost always ended with, we're in this together. Like, we are fighting a big fight too, and count on us to help. And so we're going to take people up on that.
I love that you said that. It really is a market of so many disparate stakeholders, and in many ways, Vera is the face of the market. It's the representative of the market, in part because of the sheer volume of credits and the number of methodologies that you have, the volume of credits that you issue.
Yep.
And that's for better or worse. So I think probably, right?
Yes.
So I think probably the number one topic of conversation in the VCM this year has to do with certain quality and integrity challenges leveled against certain nature-based methodologies. And Vera has taken many of the arrows on behalf of the market, I would say, in that conversation and in that debate. On the one hand, everyone recognizes that methodologies need to be continuously improved, which is and has always been Vera's approach. And on the other hand, there is a robust market that's accomplishing tremendously beneficial things. And if we can get that balance right, I think we all agree that it's an incredibly significant market. And so how are you navigating this moment where Vera is sort of the face, whereas sometimes it's for the good, occasionally it's for the more challenging?
So navigating is a good word. There's a lot going on, and we are trying to balance making sure that we are listening to the critiques, that we're holding a really high bar for our own performance and challenging ourselves. And I think the other is, how can we establish trust by working with others? And so I think it's back to maybe we are going to launch a research initiative where we have independent research, because there's a balance. When we are trying to defend ourselves, it looks self-serving. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, well, how do we establish trust? Could be like work that has to happen outside of us. We might commission work or work with others to help make sure that we are establishing the baselines or and the impact analysis of the projects. We have reached out recently to some of the ratings agencies. It's like, well, how can we use different parts of this and not try to do it all of ourselves? And so that's how we're navigating. It's been a challenge. I don't know that we have all the answers, but it's very important to us to work our way through this, because we know it's critical for the market. Yeah,
I think it's important to everyone because, like you said, it's critical for the market.
Yeah.
Going back to the commitments that you outlined in the New Era for Vera, the newsletter that was sent out.
Yes.
It seems like a lot of those are operational initiatives, which is very exciting. It's both setting thematic objectives and then making sure there's the operational processes and teams to be able to fulfill those commitments. Can you talk a bit about your approach to transforming the operations and the team at Vera? Team management, team building, team development, different work streams, et cetera, and maybe how it's not so new for you, given the experiences that you've had in the private sector before.
Okay. So, there was a lot of questions in there, but let me just go back to the beginning.
Answer any of the ones you like. Yeah.
So let me just break it down. So there are a lot of operational things in that. Our goal is for that not to be the primary ongoing, but it's kind of the ticket to the game. Unless we can actually deliver and be prepared to scale all these reputational things and all of that, we won't be able to sustain those. And so we have to get the operations in order. And so that's why there are so many of those right now, because we are not delivering what's expected of us in our core operations. And in terms of like, how do you set the teams up for success? Operational excellence has I won't get on my soapbox. I get really excited talking about this, but it's an entire system. And so there's a system of, do you have the right capabilities? Are you structured internally correctly? Or roles and responsibilities defined? Do you have data and insights about, and your finger on the pulse of what's actually happening? So there's a whole data element. There's a technology element that actually can help mistake-proof the work. We're looking at things from a Lean Six Sigma approach, which is just about where are things like stopping and getting wasteful in the process. So I would say it's not a one-size-fits-all. In the recent term, we've created just like an HR department and a talent acquisition group and a learning and development individual. Like these are just like core fundamental things. We have an incredibly talented organization, and I am so inspired by the team that we have, but they are mostly functional experts. They're functional experts in this fight, or in particular methodology. And what we need to do is surround them with other capabilities, like the analytics, like some of the new opportunities with technology, machine learning, artificial intelligence. There's just so many insights from the data that we could be pulling and reacting to, and that's just not available yet. And so to me, I think about it as enabling the organization by leveraging the strengths that we have and then supporting them with either infrastructure or other capabilities that don't exist today.
And this is the way that you take Vera from an organization that is in some ways the gatekeeper organization of a $2 billion market, and you set it up to scale commensurate with the scale that we all expect to see in the market.
Yes.
It's phenomenal. It's a great aspiration and tremendously important. Yeah. Can you share a bit about what, if anything, keeps you up at night and what gets you up in the morning when it comes to this market?
So there are two things that keep me up at night. One, so in the conversations I had, I've only been in this kind of role for a few months now, and so I have not lived the impact of the projects that we're enabling, firsthand. Mm-hmm. But in the conversations and the listening tour, the things that haunt me are the stories of the people at the end of the process that we've either disappointed because we've delayed the financing, or the project failed. And then the communities that were waiting for that money, I can get emotional about that. So that haunts me. Yeah. And then the other thing I just heard incredible stories about lives changed as well. So places where we disappointed and where we had a direct impact because of the lack of our ability to deliver. And then there is the impact of the people that lives were changed because of this, and forests that are standing, and pictures of endangered species that would not be here. The other thing that keeps me up at night is I am strategizing. So I wake up every night between 2 and 4:30, and I'm just thinking, what are we tackling tomorrow? And so how do we look at all of these disparate needs, requirements, requests, hopes, desires, whatever, and come up with a game plan that we are focused and productive every single day. We have no time to waste. There is such a strong sense of urgency, and I feel an incredible amount of responsibility. And the team is looking for us to work together, but for me to really step into that role, and I just don't want to waste a minute. And so those are the things that keep me up at night. What keeps me excited about the morning are the people that I work with. The team that I have, they'll do anything. They're incredibly talented. They're coming together. We're working and collaborating, and we're excited about this future. And so that's what gets me up in the morning. Can't wait to get to work every day.
That's such a beautiful answer for the question. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I think on the first part of your answer, it's the stories of the projects that need to get disseminated, that need to be the face of this market. Mm-hmm. People need to understand what this market actually supports and funds through the carbon credits, and that is the communities on the ground, the people on the ground, often in the global south, the developing world.
Yes.
And so I think it's phenomenal that you internalize that so quickly. And I think it behooves us as a market to get those stories out there and disseminate them, because they aren't very emotional.
Yes.
They're very evocative.
Yes.
And they really are at the core of what we're all working towards.
Yes.
And so
I'll share one. I'll just share one. I hope I can do it without crying. But I was talking with Ben and Vanessa at TIST. I don't know if you've ever met them, most lovely human beings. But they talked about some of the work that they had done in, I think, Uganda and Tanzania. And what they described, and I think they just went on a church trip thinking they were going to do something for a week, and then it changed their life, and they've been doing this for 30 years or something. But what they described was that the people talked about that the elders would share with them about trees because there were no trees. And so it was only about a story of a tree that these people knew. And he said that, which, you know, think about that.
Yeah.
Just think about that. They've never seen a tree. And so he said, then the guide took him to the top of this hill, and he said that as far as you could see, there was not one tree. And so it's not even like you could walk to a tree. I mean, isn't that hard to believe? I feel so naive and so sheltered in my life because I've never heard that before. Yeah. But the great news was that he had gone back. They had just had their 25-year anniversary in Uganda in the same little schoolroom with no windows and no doors or anything, and they had their 25-year celebration. And the people from the communities, just came and shared the impact that these projects have had. And I agree with you. We agree with you that we've got to bring those stories to life, and we are committed to doing that. We haven't been able to do that in the last few months, but be on the lookout because it's important for the world to know.
Amazing. I don't think we could end on anything better, not just our conversation, but the day. So I want to thank Judith tremendously for sharing your insights and thoughts and for the unbelievable work that you're doing at Vera.
Thank you.
We all are very grateful.